Hello, I'm Caredwen from Magic Hands Calm Minds, and this is number 3 in a series of the 12 tips to a healthy Christmas. Today I want to talk about grief, which is a horrible subject and possibly people's least favourite. If you're grieving at Christmas, then it will probably feel 50 times worse than if you were grieving at any other time of the year. Everywhere you look, it's all about happy families and everybody being joyous, and what a lovely occasion it is. And you are probably raging at the sight of all of this enforced jollity and just don't know what to do with yourself, quite frankly. Doesn't matter whether this is the first Christmas that you've been bereaved or whether it happened many years ago, or even maybe it hasn't happened yet. Maybe there's somebody in your family who is terminally ill and you're kind of facing the reality that this is going to be your last Christmas with them. Grief is an intensely personal thing, and there is no right way to grieve, despite the fact that many people will tell you that there is. It has been described as love with nowhere to go, because the object of your love is no longer there. There's nowhere for that emotion to go, and it turns into grief instead. Grief can be manifest in lots of different ways. So people sometimes feel that if they're grieving, they can't actually be happy, they can't laugh at something, they can't enjoy something. And you can, of course, that's okay. You know, things are still going to be funny and things are still going to bring you pleasure. Not maybe straight away, but they will bring you pleasure, and that's okay. You don't have to spend the rest of your life in floods of tears. Equally, things that you laughed at before might be intensely painful now. So if this is your first Christmas grieving, then you really need to think about yourself, and almost exclusively yourself, with the possible exception of your children. So, of course, to some extent it depends on who you've lost. But there is a tendency to say, oh, well, we have to be cheerful because it's Christmas. They wouldn't want us to be miserable, and of course they wouldn't. Nobody wants their families to be miserable at Christmas, but you are going to be miserable. So be miserable, you know, it's okay. Some people will say, oh, you have to be strong and cheerful for the children. Well, the children are grieving as well. People think that very young children don't understand, that they don't grieve. They do understand. And if you hide your feelings, if you don't express how you feel, if you don't make it okay to talk about your feelings, then what you're telling the children is that your feelings are not okay and that you have to conceal them. If you try and mask or protect them from the effects of being bereaved and from grief, then you're potentially going to have a problem in later life where they won't have formed those coping mechanisms to deal with bereavement. And it is going to happen to them at some stage. You know, no matter how carefully you look after them as children, one day they're going to be bereaved. They're going to feel grief and you won't be able to do anything about it. So prepare them for it now. Encourage them to talk about how they feel and talk about how you feel as well with them. Even if they're really young, like 2 or 3 years old, you can still talk to them about it and be open and honest and straightforward. Don't say Granny's gone away or Daddy's gone to live with the angels, because they'll want to know, when are they coming back? Why have they gone away? Why is Daddy living with the angels and not with us anymore? Doesn't he love us anymore? And children will actually internalise that and they will turn it into their own fault. And before you know it, they're blaming themselves for the fact that Daddy died because he didn't want to live with them anymore. So really do be honest with them, however painful it might be for you. You'll want to talk about the person you've lost, so talk about them. If you haven't got anybody to talk to, get a journal and write. You can get a nice notebook like this one and just write down how you feel. Nobody else has to ever see it. It doesn't matter if it's untidy, it doesn't matter if it's spelt badly, it doesn't matter if you cry and smudge the ink. This is for you to get your feelings out and help you deal with them in what is an agonising period of time. And if you can't face the thought of being with anyone else, then don't be. You know, this is for you. This is your time. There is no right and wrong way to grieve. People will expect you to. They'll say, you can't be on your own. You need to be with other people. You have to stay cheerful. You have to stay busy. No, you don't. You have to do exactly what you need to do. Doesn't matter whether it's Christmas or at any other time of the year. Grief is horrible. You will be angry, you will be fearful, you will be miserable, you will be guilty. People do feel guilty about death, particularly if there's nobody to blame, because your brain wants there to be somebody to blame, and they want somebody to be angry at. If there isn't anybody, then it can end up being turned against the person you've actually lost. And then you thinking, well, this is terrible. I'm clearly a terrible person, because not only have I lost my mother, my sister, my husband, whoever it is, but I'm angry with them about it. That's terrible. And then you feel really, really guilty. And it's not as if you don't have enough to cope with anyway. So it is a perfectly normal reaction. No matter how bad you're feeling, no matter whether you're feeling angry, guilty, lonely, sad, it's natural and it's normal. You will, in time, get away from those feelings. I don't say get over it, because you will not get over it. You will never get over it. That person will always be gone, and you will always have a hole in your life where they used to be. But you will get used to it, and it will stop hurting quite so much, and you will be happy again. So if you're going through Christmas grieving, whether it's your first Christmas grieving or the 20th Christmas grieving, do what you need to do. Please don't force yourself to do something else for the sake of someone else. It's absolutely fine for you to do whatever you need to do. I mean, here I am in the middle of the Forest of Dean, lots of trees around. You can go out into the middle of the forest, you can scream, you can tear up the undergrowth, you can throw things. Nobody will see you, nobody will care. If that's what you need to do, go and do that. Now, quite often when people are bereaved at Christmas, they want to go and visit the grave. I live opposite a graveyard. Christmas Day is the busiest day of the year. Again, that's okay if that's what you want to do, but be aware, are you doing it because you want to go, or are you doing it because people expect you to, or because it's the right thing to do, or because you can't think of anything else to do? So by all means go. I'm not saying don't go, but if you are going, think about why you're going, and then don't feel that next year you have to go because you went this year. And if you went last year and you don't want to go this year, that's okay as well. You know, there's no rule that says you have to go. So that's really what I wanted to say. And it doesn't matter whether this is a relation you've lost. It could be a pet. I've met people who are passionately attached to their pets, whether it's a horse, a dog, a cat, a rabbit. There's no right and wrong. And people will tell you that it's only a pet. And people who've said that have never really loved a pet. So don't take any notice of that. Okay? I'm not going to wish you a Merry Christmas, because it's probably not possible for you to have a Merry Christmas, but have as merry a Christmas as it is possible for you to have. Stay healthy, look after yourself, and look after the people who are near to you, and then they will look after you. And I hope you found that useful. I'll see you in the new year. Bye bye.